Recently, I published a video on one example of what I think a professional Angular application looks like, which included a test strategy using TDD, or test-driven development. In that video, which I'll link in the description, we were just taking a broad look at the project as a whole, but there was some interest in diving deeper into the test strategy. So in this video, I am going to do just that. So I want to give you a sense of what using TDD to build a real application looks and feels like, while still keeping this video reasonably short. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show how I implemented the last user story that I worked on for this app, which was to allow the admin to view the responses to forms submitted by clients. Now, I don't want to make this video about defining what TDD is exactly, but here is a very brief overview of what it means. So we don't write code until we have written a test to cover the code we're about to write, so the test comes first. And we should write a test, watch it fail, implement the functionality, and then watch the test pass. And at that point, we are then free to modify that code further if we want to. And so this is often referred to as red-green refactor, or fail-pass refactor. So first we begin by writing an E2E test to capture the functionality from the end user perspective. And usually these end up linking pretty closely to the user stories. So what we're doing here is we're setting up some test data in our Firestore database. The test client we have set up here contains a mock form submission. So this survey property has some values in it. And then we just pretend the functionality already exists for this feature. So we click on the View Responses button, then we click on the first item in the responses list, and then we expect that the component we are using to render out JSON values displays the test value that we set up. So we're expecting to see this sum value, which is the value in this test client. So none of this has been implemented yet. This is just how we want it to work, and we write the test that way. An important thing to keep in mind is that you don't need to get this right on the first go. Your test doesn't have to be exactly correct. You might think you were going to implement this one way and then end up doing something else later. So it is fine to come back and modify your test at a later point. You should basically just be coding this test in the way that you think it is going to work, but that can, of course, end up being wrong. Now, an important step of the TDD process is to check that the test we have created actually fails. There are cases where you might write a test and then it passes straight away without you actually implementing the code, in which case it means that test is wrong. And if you see a passing test, you might just assume everything is working when really it isn't. So it's very important to actually watch the test fail, even if you're pretty much 100% sure that it is going to fail. So I can run my test with npm run E2E, and if I let those run, we can see that this test is indeed failing. And it's failing because it can't find the View Survey Responses button. So you can hover over individual parts of this Cypress test, and so I can hover over this part of that, and I can see that there is no View Responses button on the page, which is what I'd expect because I haven't implemented it yet, but we can see that it is indeed failing. So now we can use our test error to guide us in implementing it. So it's failing because it can't find the Survey Responses button, so now we can add that. So I'm going to go to the client detail page, and I'm going to add a View Responses button. Now, I won't always do this. I won't always continually go back to the E2E test to run it again when I know it's going to fail and I can preempt the errors. But if you want to, at this point, we could go back to our test, run it again, and we will see hopefully a different kind of error. So now it's complaining that it can't find the survey responses list, whereas before it was complaining about not being able to find the View Responses button. And that's because our button doesn't actually do anything yet. So let's make sure it actually routes to the page where we can view those responses. So I'm just going to update that button to route to the history page. And now if we run those tests again, we're going to see that it's still erroring with the same error, but if we open up the console, it's going to complain that the history route doesn't exist. And that's because we haven't created that page yet. And again, we're just treating everything as if it already exists, and then we run into walls like this when we try to utilize something that doesn't exist, and of course it doesn't work. And that's the point where we can then go ahead and create that thing. So to save some time, I'm not going to show generating all of the components and setting up the routes and stuff like that. We are just going to focus on the functionality. But at this point, I would generate the page for the history route, which is the client survey component. But as you can see, I've already generated that. So if we run the tests again now, you can see that we are still getting that same error, but it is at least getting to the history page now. So if I've just clicked on this step here, we can see that we've actually got to that page now. So it exists and we are able to navigate to it. But it's still expecting to see a list of survey responses on this page which don't exist yet. So at this point, I began developing the functionality to display the survey responses in a list on that page. So if I just open up the client survey page, what we are going to do basically is add that component to display those responses here. And we're going to speed things up a bit here because it would take too long to go through everything step by step. So what I've done is I've created a separate component to display the list of responses. So you can see in the UI folder here, I have a survey list component. And this is the point where I would switch to writing some unit tests for the functionality that we are going to be creating. So my general approach to testing goes something like this. I'll first write an E2E test, and then I'll write one or more unit tests until the end-to-end test is satisfied. So far, we have just been adding code directly without creating unit tests, but this has just been simple template behavior that is already covered by the end-to-end test. For example, we're adding a button, clicking a button and having it route to a page. Now you could write unit tests for these things, but I generally don't worry about writing unit tests for simple things that the E2E test is already going to catch anyway. But now we are getting into implementing some actual logic into our components. So I'm going to make sure that I have some proper unit tests written before I do any of that implementation. So we want to test this survey list component now, and just like with the E2E test, we first write the tests to describe what it will do. We'll check that the test fails, and then we will implement the actual functionality. So you can see that we are going to supply this component with a surveys input, and then we have multiple tests describing how it should behave. So we want to display a loading template if its input is undefined. We want to display a message if there are no surveys, and we want to render an item for each survey response. And each of these tests are basically the same. We set the input to whatever we want to test. We trigger detect changes so that the template will update. And then we check for whatever it is that we are expecting. For example, in this case, we are checking that the number of items in the template matches the number of elements in our test input array. So in this case, we would expect that there would be 2 items in the template because there are 2 responses in the responses input. Now, for the sake of brevity, I'm implementing all of these tests at once, but you might just tackle these one at a time, or maybe just start with the simple things and come back later to add stuff like testing for the loading template, for example. And in order to get this test to compile, we will need to define the surveys input first. Since the test is referencing this, it doesn't exist, so it's going to cause a compilation error. So we want to watch our tests actually fail because of their logic failing, not because they just can't compile. So we will just quickly add an input here just to get that compiling, and then we can run npm test to run the unit tests. And when doing stuff like this to get your test to compile, it's important that you don't actually do any implementation. We just want the test to compile. We don't want implementation details. And now that the unit tests have run, we can see that the 3 tests that we just defined are all failing. So now we can add the implementation for these tests. And again, I'm just jumping straight to the end here. Obviously, I wouldn't just be dumping in all the code at once like this if I was developing this for real right now. But with this implementation in place, we can now see that those 3 tests were passing. We do actually have 1 failing test here, but that is unrelated. That is something we're going to get to in a moment. The 3 tests that we added for our survey list component are passing. So again, I'm simplifying this for the video by jumping straight to the end. There is typically going to be a lot more back and forth when you work through this process. For example, you will implement what you think is the correct code, but your tests will still fail, so you need to go back and change the code. Sometimes your tests end up being wrong, so you'll need to fix those. So I don't want to give you the impression that I would typically just fly through this process without any complications or errors. I'm just trying to give you a brief overview of this whole process. So now with that component implemented, it can now be used on the client survey page to display the survey responses. But we need to pass the client ID through the route and retrieve the particular client we are trying to display the survey responses for. And so we then need to supply the surveys for the particular client as an input to the component we just created, because our survey list component is expecting a surveys input. So that means on this page, we need to actually have access to that data somehow. And this is more functionality that needs to be covered by unit tests. So what we do is we add this test to make sure that we have a stream of the client whose ID was passed in through the route. So all our test does here basically is subscribe to that client stream, and then it just expects it to have the test client value at some point. And you can see this test client value here is something that we set up at the top of our test setup here. And then we are actually mocking the activated route so that we can pass in our test client both to the param mat to get the sort of observable stream of those params passed in, and also the snapshot as well. And you might also notice that I am using the observer spy library here, which is allowing me to use this subscribe spy to method. So this is just a fantastic library that helps you test observables in your test. And I think it's actually the only third-party library I use for my unit tests. So if you're coding like reactively, you've got lots of observable streams, using the observer spy library is massively helpful. So to make sure this test compiles, we've already added just a dummy client stream value in here. And if we check our unit test failures, we can see that this test that we have created is failing. So now we can just add the code to satisfy that test. We'll let the test run again. And now we can see that all of the unit tests are passing. So now that we have that client stream available, we can use it in the template to supply it to that survey list component that we just created. So we've added in that component now, and we are supplying that surveys input, which is going to be the survey value from whatever client was just passed through the route. Now I'm going to speed things up a bit again here because this functionality goes even deeper. So this survey list component also then links each item to a survey detail page where we can view the values for the specific responses. So we display a list of all the responses, then we want to click those to see the values for it. So we're not going to go through that step by step, but I will show you briefly. So we create this client survey detail page, and that sets up a client stream in a similar way to what we just did. And of course we have a test for that in our spec file. And then in the template, we supply the specific survey response being viewed to a app render JSON component, which will handle displaying JSON values in a nicer format inside the app. So at this point, I had already created the render JSON component for a previous user story, and I'm just reusing that here. Let's quickly take a look at the tests for this anyway. So the basic idea is that it takes a JSON input and then it should render out the key and the value into specific elements on the page. So we're just trying to render out those keys and values in a way that looks a little bit nicer than just dumping the JSON data. And then you can see we have satisfied that functionality in the template like this. So I'm just showing you the end result here, but what I did actually do is write this test first, watch it fail, and then implemented the template afterwards. Now, with all of that in place, if we run our E2E test again, we should see that it all passes. And I'm just running all of the tests right now, but you can see the one we're interested in has indeed passed. So this is generally how my TDD process will go. I start with the end-to-end test and use the failure of that test to help determine what functionality I need to implement. I can't implement any functionality without testing it first, so that will lead to the creation of unit tests, which may or may not lead into creating additional components with additional unit tests and so on. Then all of the unit tests eventually pass, and either the E2E test will pass at that point, or you'll end up needing to implement more functionality and unit tests. So the E2E test kind of defines the overall journey, and the unit tests are the stepping stones along the way to completing that journey. Okay, that's it for this video. It can be a bit messy trying to fit a bunch of complexity into a short video, so I hope it was useful to you still. The build of this entire application is available as a pro module on Elite Ionic, so I'll link to that in the description if you are interested in checking it out in more detail. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.